All right, Luke Severide, thanks for joining me on the Joe Talk podcast. I just made that up. It's not official.
Oh, no? Is this
Yeah.
like, how many episodes are we in?
I just did one last night, so this is the second one.
Hell yeah, first the worst, second's the best.
Yeah, buddy. This might be the first one, though, because I haven't posted the first one yet. I might scrap it.
First the worst. Into it.
So we didn't have any pre-loaded questions or anything like that, so I'm just going to hit you with some rapid-fire stuff.
Okay.
Feel free to admit anything you don't want to talk about.
Sounds good.
So one of the things I think
Pass.
I've noticed about your stand-up career thus far is your online following is pretty significant, and I'd say it happened pretty quickly. I mean, social media stuff is fairly new to us comedians. I think when you started comedy, social media wasn't as big of a thing, right? I mean,
Not as, I mean, there was definitely some acts that had better careers because of their online following, but it was a much harder thing to acquire.
yeah.
Yeah, it'll be a random comic here and there that has 500,000 followers somewhere or something like that, and I think that is becoming a more and more common thing.
Yes. And I remember you mentioning that when I asked you about how much money you've put into your videos and your reels, you've said mostly organic.
Yes, the money that I've put into, say, boosting a reel or something like that is after something has already gone viral, and honestly, I don't think it was worth it. Because as soon as you put money towards a reel, the platforms go, oh, we can make money off of you, so why are we going to push this content that is already shown to resonate with some audience that we have on our platform?
You broke the seal.
Yeah. We'll just stop the wave from moving, and you can just pay us if you want this to keep going.
Because I have heard of them doing mini shadow bans to get you to pay. Where they don't put your stuff in the algorithms intentionally because they want you to pay. Do you think that's true?
I think this is a new form of superstition.
Okay.
Because there's no rhyme or reason. I don't believe in a higher power, but I do believe in the almighty algorithm. Mm-hmm. And it does work in mysterious ways. And it is a fickle overseer. Yeah, who knows? I mean, at this moment, I'm not posting on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts as regularly. It kind of goes in bursts just because it's a lot of things, and it's just me performing, recording, editing, uploading, all these things. But if you don't have a bunch of momentum behind you, sometimes you get nothing. Like a video I posted this morning, I'm like, the views are trash, and I'm like, all right, TikTok, I guess I need to give you more sacrifices on the altar for you to let one of them get a decent amount of engagement.
I think. What do you think it is about your style of comedy that made the algorithm feel good about throwing you out there a little bit?
I think it was a couple different factors. The fact that I have been just throwing things on there for a while, I think that really helped. And then the subject matter is a lot of the jokes that really kicked me off was just me talking about metal music, and then a lot of fans of metal music just share with each other like crazy because it is something that is not discussed in stand-up comedy at all, and if it is, it's usually presented in a negative light.
Yeah, gotcha.
So I really think it's just positively presenting jokes about a fandom that they in turn are just and then they share. The amount of people that I've talked to after shows or just in last night I went to see my friend play some music, not metal music, and the bartender's like, you look familiar, and I'm like, and I took my beanie off. I was like, this is my haircut, and she's like, I follow you on TikTok. I was like, cool. She's like, oh, I shared, me and my friends, we share, and I'm like, which is cool. It also just seems a little bit surreal just knowing people are see a video of my face and then just share that with their friends a bunch, and it's happened a lot.
Yeah, I think your stage presence really comes through the video very well.
Oh, thanks.
I think because one thing I noticed, and it's pretty obvious, that if you don't hook them in the first 2 seconds, they're gone usually.
Can be, yeah.
And I think that your style just really draws people in, and they're going to give you a chance for 5 seconds probably when the average is 2.
Maybe. I don't know, man. I've had It's nice to hear, but I've been at all of my shows, and sometimes it takes a little while to get people hooked on not hooked, but get on board with the character that I want to portray.
Yeah.
Because it is not the level I am right now, because that would be an insane thing to do on a couch talking to a friend. But yeah, you gotta get people, you gotta ease them into being loud and chaotic and very scatter-minded, because you can't just show up, at least in my experience, and maybe when I'm a better comedian I'll be able to do it, but like just showing up and doing that right off the bat is not something that I have fully unlocked how to do. But I do think there's definitely shows where I just hop on the mic and it's like I'm already rolling.
Yeah,
and it's fine.
That's nice. Yeah, so a lot of metal people are sharing and caring. That's pretty cool.
It's awesome, man.
Did you know I'm allergic to metal?
No, which kinds? All of them?
Like nickel.
Nickel?
Yeah, fucking all of them.
That's odd. So like no bracelets,
I can
no
do gold.
piercings?
I can do like real gold, but
Okay.
that's about it.
How'd you find that out?
My belt buckle on my belt was touching my skin, and it always made me break out.
Fun.
So I always had to tuck my wife beater underneath my belt buckle to keep the metal from touching my skin. Also, I can't wear rings. So I tried wearing a wedding ring and all that bullshit. I couldn't do it because my finger just broke out. I changed it, all kinds of different metals, tungsten, fucking carbonite, and all this weird shit, and nothing worked.
Silicone?
I could do that, but also the problem with that is that I can't even have like these things on your wrist on, these Fitbits and shit, or watches. I have to wear them super loose because my skin gets irritated if it touches for too long without getting air.
We are becoming softer and softer as a species.
I do believe that, yes.
We
Because
are.
I think about my ancestors in the 1600s trying to struggle through being allergic to metal, and it just seems way more
I mean, there wasn't.
detriment back then, you know.
Most of them were allergic to metal, but whenever they interacted with metal, it was through a sword going through them. So
So the allergy didn't really take effect.
yeah, like they were never exposed for long enough to cause a rash, because it was usually chopping off their head.
At 26 years old. Yeah.
Oh wow, a grandpa, interesting.
Yeah, grandpa.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I do like metal music, but I do think I'm also allergic to that as well. So.
Just don't have it touch your skin for an extended period of time, and you'll be okay.
Yeah, and it's got to go in through the ears, you know. Fucking.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So I just want people that might be watching this to know that one of the factors with getting an online following is just persistence.
Yes.
Continuously doing it. Good audio, good video if you can, and just having something that can be relatable to the crowds out there and the masses, that aren't just a joke that you like, but something you think will relate.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mention that either, but it is like the high quality. I got a new camera, and I got some instruction on how to like color correct and how to mix the audio a little bit better.
Yeah.
And I have multiple audio sources, so it sounds as good as I, at my skill level, can make it. So the higher quality, the better. You know, you see clips go viral that, you know, recorded on a iPhone 4, but like the jokes are really good.
Yeah.
So like it's all these things, like you want to set yourself up in as many ways as possible to be successful. Mm-hmm. All that. Also, find a joke, like if you can find a niche, like something that is very you and authentic, but also resonates with others. Like that's a thing. Because I've talked to a lot of other comics after this stuff's popped, and they're like, what do I do? How did I, whatever? And I'm just like, I'm a metalhead who does comedy, and I'm finally talking about the thing that I also love before I started this thing, and that's why it's working. Like, what's your thing?
Yeah, you really got it honed in on that thing. And I have had other people tell me that as well. Andy Miller told me, he's like, just pick one thing, hone in on it. That's always been my problem, because I'm all over the place. Yeah. I'm live streaming Call of Duty, and I'm live streaming shit. I'm live streaming shows, you know, whatever. I'm all over the place. I never have anything narrowed down to one thing. And when I do, I'm like, oh, how boring.
Yeah, that's that ADHD, man.
Yeah.
I get it. Scatterbrain is fine, but maybe it's just because nothing has actually shown itself to be worthwhile sufficiently. Like that's what helped make me focus, is that it was February last year when a couple clips like started to pop off, and I by happenstance was I was in Oklahoma City doing a weekend at a club, so I'm just in a hotel. I got my laptop, got my hard drive, and I just churned out like another 4 or 5 reels because I had nothing else to do during the day. Yeah. So I was like just hyper focused, did that, and then that just kept the wave going. And then once you see that and go, oh, I'm capable of getting X, like certain amount of views, I'm getting new followers, like it reinforces that behavior. In the same way, like the first time you did stand-up comedy or the first couple years or whatever, if you didn't get big laughs on things, why would you stick it out with a certain joke? Like you need to get it. You need to get that positive reinforcement to make you go, okay, I'll keep digging this way.
Yeah, and then build on it.
Yep.
All right, so let me ask you this: Do you still get a rush from having good sets, like where you stay up at night sometimes, just zooked out of your mind?
Not like I used to. I still do, but like it's like a dull rush.
Yeah,
It's like
it's like a watered down version of what it used to be.
yeah, it's me just like, all right, I'm awake.
Yeah, I got a big day tomorrow. Let's get some sleep, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it used to be, and maybe this is time, or maybe I'm actually just like aware of what I'm doing as opposed to how I'm not as delusional about like what's happening. I don't see it as like I'm not a wizard.
It's not
on
as
stage.
surreal now.
Yeah, it used to be like, oh, I'm a rock star. I'm doing the thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, and I'm casting these spells. It's just words that are eliciting an emotional response. And now I see it as like, oh, I'm crafting a thing.
Yeah,
And I'm manipulating them in a
starting to feel more like an actual artist.
Yeah, but but I mean, art and like like it feels more like a craftsman, where you're like, I'm producing a product to get the job done, and it's the balance between the two. And a lot of times, if like I have a really really good set, I still have a while to go before I touch my bed.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, all right, and I don't drink anymore, so like that used to fuel the fire. Like, you know, good set and you have a couple drinks and you get those chemicals in there, and that pairs nicely, and you know, get some more wiggle to your waggle.
Do you get anxiety much, like early first few years of comedy, or?
I mean, yeah, plenty of anxiety, nothing overly detrimental, but
Because I'm
definitely
wondering if the higher level of anxiety before a show ultimately can have a more significant feeling of that rush afterwards.
potentially.
And then now over time, maybe you have less anxiety, so then the rush ends up being less.
Could be a lower release. Could also be that I just don't.
You've just activated those parts of your brain so much already that.
Yeah, I think I'm the dragon it's nowhere near me.
Yeah.
I'm chasing it still, but it's in the distance. But you know, I have a good pace. It's a marathon. I'll catch that fella eventually. No, I won't. He's flying. I'm walking. It's that, and then also I just do think, and this is maybe a little bit bleaker sounding, but it's just like, yeah, man, this is a job. I've been doing this almost 12 years now. Like I wish I got like, oh, but ultimately it's like, yeah, man, you talk for 25 minutes, you talk for an hour. Like,
Do you say you're definitely more business minded now, rather than maybe recreationally?
at this stage, I don't know if recreationally, I don't know if I would have those as the two options. I definitely like creatively and business mind, like I like those two comparisons.
Okay.
Is that
that's good. I like
okay?
that.
Because I'm definitely more business minded, because that's the skill tree I've had to start throwing points into lately in the last couple years, and it's made me realize how behind it is. So like me doing well on stage, I'm like, great. How'd the video turn out?
Mm-hmm.
How's this relationship with this booker?
Mm-hmm.
How did I do on merch? What can I use from this? Because it used to be like, that set was dope. I'm the best. I love myself. Dope. Sleep. Wake up. Go. I'm still kind of a piece of garbage. What are we doing? So it's like that. There's so many other things that it's hard to just focus on, like the euphoria and endorphins of a good set.
Yeah. That's a good answer.
That being said, I mean, this last handful of sets I had, like this last weekend, I did a headline a couple shows, and I was really loose on stage. A lot of like weird riffs, had a lot of fun, and really had a good time. But then, you know, still had a long drive afterwards. So I'm just kind of like, all right, I'm high, but I'm still just in a car for another 2 hours.
So almost 12 years in, how much of it has been full time?
Well, I've been able to not have a day job for a little bit over a year now.
Nice.
So it took me, you know, a little bit over 10 years to finally be able to be full time, and I was kind of on that trajectory until 2020, About half my income was based off of comedy, and that kind of just wiped that out. And then day job situation got weird, so it's just been it took a couple years to rebuild the momentum and relationships I had previously. So yeah, full time for a year.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you still have feelings of writer's block or just lack of motivation to do sets sometimes?
Yes. Writer's block, I wouldn't even call it writer's block. It's just low levels of motivation to do anything. Because the business is the priority. I mean, this is when I'm in a complaining mood, which I've thankfully been getting out of, but I was in that mode for a couple years in a row. But like, I would just kind of, to harumph, just be like, oh my God, like I got into comedy to be funny, and telling jokes is like the 8th thing on my list of priorities. Like, that's so stupid. So like, yeah, I have writer's block on occasion, but it's like, I need that spark, that excitement. And there's ways to get that, but it's like, yeah, a lot of this anxiety I have that gets in the way of the writer's block is a byproduct of all these other boring, tedious tasks that I need to tend to, so that I can then have like the spare brain energy, the bandwidth to loosely, get high and hike in the woods and think about my dumb little yucks, and then have little like dumb thoughts show up, and I go, oh, that is funny, write it down or act it out in the woods when no one can see me. And sometimes people do, and I go, I don't feel like explaining what's happening. Like, we'll just go our separate ways. I'm not following you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it happens. It's just ebbs and flows.
Yeah, I guess my next question was going to be what you do to get out of that, or what you do to realign your priorities properly.
Yeah, it is really, and I hate that this is the case because it sounds very tedious and very parenting, but it's just like, do your work, like exercise, write, like sit down, force yourself to write, work on all the producing, all of these other tasks that are getting behind, so that they're taken care of. You can relax, because even if you don't think you're stressed about it, your anxiety, and I'm only speaking for myself, but like that stuff is.
No, I can relate, because when it starts Tetrising and the pieces aren't fitting and the shit's still coming down, it weighs down on you for sure. And then you just say fuck it, and you don't do anything now.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then that solves nothing, but you feel okay in the moment ish.
Yeah.
But then later that night when you're on stage, you're not as loose and living in the moment as you could be, because you're thinking about the things you neglected.
Yeah, and you know right away why.
Yeah, so, or you don't necessarily know right away why, but
probably not yet.
Yeah, because it's taken me a lot.
If you've been doing it long enough.
Yeah. And I also, like, the thing I'm saying right now is a thing I constantly have to remind myself, where I'm like, oh, I'm in a bad mood. Why is that? Well, you didn't fill out that. You didn't make that event. You need to figure out the marketing for that show. You should probably email that booker. You need to work on that video. And it's just a lot. It's a lot of different hats to wear.
Yeah.
But I also don't have an alarm clock in the morning, and my day is what I make of it. So it's like
ultimately up to you.
Yeah, which is cool, but also like, hey, yeah, it's ultimately up to me. Like, make it happen, Captain.
Yeah. I get an exhilarating amount of pride when I can book months in advance and then take 2 weeks off. I absolutely love that feeling.
That's nice.
It's a very rare thing, but it's nice. And I tend to do it towards the end of the year. I try to get October, November, December fully booked by September, but it's not easy to do. But most of it, like 80 to 90% of it, could be booked usually. And then again in the summertime, because I slow things down in the summer.
Yeah, summer's always very slow.
And then that way you can just chill in the summer and enjoy it. And you're not doing all the fucking running around shit all the time, It's nice to be able to slow down in the summer, I think, especially when you're doing comedy. So.
Yeah, well, it's also like it's not a good season for comedy out
No,
here.
it's not. It's a perfect time to slow down, yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
And also, too, I think it's important to take time off.
Yep.
I mean, because I take 4 weeks out of the year off usually. I haven't been able to do that the last couple of years, and I can definitely tell mentally I'm starting to falter because of it. When I was on it every 2 weeks, twice a year, it was so refreshing to be able to escape and not focus on whatever the art or the craft is at hand. So, yeah, do you do that? Do you take time off?
No. I should. I need to lay down a lot more track in front of myself before I start doing those things.
Yes, that's important. For sure.
because I still don't fully have my head wrapped around all of the different things. Because it's like, all right, so I have shows in the next 2 months booked. Like, what am I doing 3 months from now? All right, who should I bug about that? How should I get that figured out? And I don't think I'm going to be able to take time off for a while until I have routines built up to the point where I'm like, it's a little bit more autopilot. Because a lot of the stuff is still new routines that I'm building.
Yeah.
What I'm hoping I can do is sometime in the next year or two get some sort of representation and someone who takes, things off my plate.
Oh, I would love that.
Yeah, it sounds nice. I mean, they'll get a cut, they'll do whatever, but it's like if they're able to help sell me as the product that I am trying to present, which is gross, and I'm an artist and I'm a comedian, blah, 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 but also I'm a commodity. That's how I pay my bills. And them taking that off, like, then I could take breaks. Because that's also, like, that's how you get better. I mean, like, that's how you fuel yourself getting better, is when your brain, and at least for me, like, when my brain is relaxed and I'm not stressed out, that's when I'm open to playful ideas, and I have the energy to actually, like, lean into it and be willing to lean into it instead of going like, hey, you're still not doing that thing. You're like, no, man, I'm following this dumb thought about a crow. Like, let me finish the thought, write it down, play with it a little bit, hop around my apartment, see how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely important to get that groundwork first, for sure. But I do think, for me personally, it's the first 2 weeks of the year, and the middle 2 weeks of August are the best ones to take off in comedy. So if you can eventually work your way around something like that, that'd be cool. Oh, what I was gonna say is I feel like I can't feel like I've made it in comedy until I can have somebody take over my social media for me.
Okay.
Like, that's when I feel like I'll have made it, when I don't have to rely on social media myself anymore, because I've been able to hire somebody to do it for me.
I mean,
everything else after that's just icing on the cake, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a bar like that set. I don't know if I'd want to hand over my social media to someone else. Maybe like making promos for shows. I'd be happy to have someone else handle that, because it's like, here are the dates, here are the thing. Take a photo of me, make it look nice.
Yeah, I definitely tell that person not to post their opinion on anything, for sure. But
yeah, well, that's also a lot of comedians should take that advice, even though our job is opinions. Yeah. Everyone's mad at opinions.
But I feel like if I could just have somebody that posts all my shit for me, like when the shows are and stuff, and yeah, nothing personal, just all business, man, that would feel fucking great. Because I hate Facebook. I absolutely fucking hate it.
Well, it is part of the reason why society is crumbling. One of the points of pressure that is cracking us. Well, you can like schedule that stuff. There's ways to do that. There's tools through Meta and everything. But it's just like that is a part of it. But also, like, to build a fan base to get to the point where you can hire someone to do that, you need to make people fans of you, and to cultivate fans of you, you need to share you with them.
That's true. Which
is a thing I have not actually done that much. I'm just sharing my clips. I should be doing a podcast like this regularly by myself, have guests on and everything like that, because anytime I do something like this and share it, a lot of people are like, more, and I'm like, I don't know if I want you in my apartment
just
with
another
me.
Thing
that's the thing. It's just another hat I have to wear. God damn it, dude. Yep. But also, like, that's the game.
Yeah. And you see some of these comics that have gone to the next level, and it just looks so fun and relaxing. You get an agent, you just go and do whatever they say to go and do. And truly, I think that's where it's at when you've made it, is when you can just do your art or do your craft without having the hustle and bustle of it all,
But I don't think that's a reality. They level up, but the game's still the game. They just get a new stage of all of those. You can go
irrelevant anytime.
Well, I'm saying, like, all of those things that you said, like, those are true, but like the complaints we're discussing right now don't go away. They just evolve and level up with you. Everyone that I've interacted with or watched online, they still have to make promos like crazy. They still have to, like, do here's a sketch. I got to move tickets in Tulsa. I'm not selling that much.
Yeah.
Like, this improv over here is not, how's Philadelphia looking? All right, I got to do. So it's like, it's just more money, but more responsibility. And you have a bigger potential draw or a larger audience that you can engage with. But the boulder's always there. You got to push it up the hill.
That's very true, because ultimately, the more you do yourself, the better off you're going to be financially and also interacting with your audience. It seems like that is the genuine key to doing something in comedy without having to give a bunch of money to all these people to do it for you.
Yeah.
So that makes sense, because there's things that I don't give up that I probably should give up, but I don't. But we'll see.
Well, it's all like it's choose your own adventure. I'm just giving like my thoughts on the thing you just said. It's like we have to figure out, we're all trying to make music and we all play a different genre.
Yeah.
So like write the song the way you want to write the song, but if you're going to try to like monetize the song, there's still certain structures you have to get through, and then once you make it and you're touring nationally, you still got to write another song.
Yeah, that's true.
Because like it's not, and maybe this is why I don't get as high after shows, is that it's just like, okay, dope, I crushed it in Washougal, Washington. Now what?
Yeah.
Okay, I go home. That's where I go.
Yeah. What's the do you have an album online yet?
Yeah, I recorded it in like 2019. It's on Spotify and like Apple iTunes, and it was I would like to go on record, even though no one cares. It wasn't intentional. It was just a set that was very good for the time. At my experience level at the time, I had really good energy. The crowd was receptive. The jokes weren't done. I'm very chaotically minded, so it's like this joke, all right, this, and it's not tight.
So it's cringe for you to listen to?
A little bit.
Yeah.
There's some moments where I was like, that's good. And someone commented on something on Instagram recently where you're like, oh, this sounds way better than your album. And I was like, I would hope. It's been 5 years. I would hope I'm better by now.
Yeah. Did you get any kickback money on those streams or views?
No, I mean, I got money, but it's not
Very little.
Yeah, it's.
Is that
feeble.
because there's options to pay for distribution, but you didn't take it, or?
I think it's Spotify being bad, and also it wasn't that popular. I mean, I had plenty of people that were fans of me at the time.
Oh, okay.
Pay attention and everything like that, but just I think an album, like releasing an album and expecting it to make you. Money is not really like realistic. I think what comics should do now, and it's way more expensive, but like shoot a special, put it on your own YouTube, and just do that, because then you can at least monetize that directly, as opposed to just hoping some streaming service. Because I mean, like Snoop Dogg had like 1 trillion listens and made like $1,000, and you're like, yeah, these platforms are not.
Oh fuck! I just uploaded my album yesterday.
But it's irons in a fire, man. It's a thing for people to find you, which will then lead them to your page, which will then maybe lead them to seeing you in real life, which then turns into them buying merch from you. All of these steps. But yeah, it's getting harder and harder.
It was funny. I was uploading my tracks, and I got nauseous because I was nervous and overwhelmed a little bit with just putting something I consider very personal on the interwebs.
Yeah.
It's different when you're just in your hometown or down the street telling jokes to a group of 50 to 100 people, but when it's you putting yourself online like that, I felt very vulnerable for the first time in comedy, where I got nauseous a little bit, and then I said, fuck it, I don't care if no one listens to it. I'm doing it just to do it and learn how to do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I get the anxiety and apprehension of having strangers judge you, but that's also the game.
Yep.
I mean, if you gotta, what is that? Ryan Holiday, the obstacle is the way. Like, you gotta go towards the thing that makes you, ugh. Like, you're not gonna be stronger if you keep doing the things that don't hurt a little bit.
Yep.
But I get it.
Yeah, just seal that wound and cover it up and move on.
Well, don't even look at it as a wound. It's a muscle breaking down that's going to grow back stronger. It's just uncomfortable in the moment because it's not strong enough to withstand that yet.
Such a better way of looking at it.
Trying to be positive, man. I'm trying to be positive.
Just work that muscle out, bro.
I mean,
it's true.
No, it's also like, I don't know, I compare everything to the gym because it's just an apt analogy. because it is like it's all baby steps. Every rep, every set is just another rep.
Yep.
And you're trial and error, learning from it. And there's been plenty of times you're like, well, all of that was wrong. Okay, but why was it wrong? For this reason, that reason, this reason. Okay, well, next round I'm going to do it different.
Yep. I'm not naturally talented at comedy, so I knew going into it that I would have to do as many reps as I possibly could before I started getting better. And it's so true, man. Like, I just felt like I just got so many reps in that now I'm just like pretty good. You know, I'm okay. I'm comfortable with where I'm at in comedy. But I knew going into it that was what it was going to take. And I think it just goes to show that if anybody is interested in doing comedy, you naturally don't have to be funny. First few years for me were rough, bro. Like,
what a good selling point.
It's true, though. I mean, if you just keep going, you know. But I mean, I will say there are people out there that will probably keep going and get hundreds of reps in and still not learn. I've seen people like that, but
yeah, I haven't seen any of the last couple of years batch of delusional individuals. Actually, no, there's a couple I can think of right now. Yeah, it's
if you're okay with trial and error and you're good at learning from your mistakes, you'll be just fine.
The last part is very important.
Yeah,
a lot of people just go. They get the endorphins and the serotonin from being on stage and maybe getting like a pity laugh, and they go, crushed it, and then don't go to therapy, don't do anything, no self-reflection, don't record their sets, don't pay attention to their sets or listen back to them to go, hey, how was that? Where was that? Nope, and they just do it again and subject open mic audiences to bad art.
I love a good old-fashioned shit show.
I don't. I've seen enough. I've had my fill. At least that specific kind of shit show. I'm just when I see just bad open mic comedy, I'm like, just fucking hear the silence and eat it. Just digest it and do something. And some people don't. And you're like, all right, I would like to throw you off a cliff so you stop wasting our time.
On that note, are there any shout outs you want to give or shows you got coming up you want?
I got a bunch of shows. Cool. I'm moving out of Washington, so I have I have a bunch of headlining shows. I have let's see, what do I have? I have Bellingham, Vancouver, BC, Snohomish, Renton. I got Spokane, Seattle, Tacoma, Kelso. And I'm calling those the Norwegian Goodbye Tour.
All right. And what's the website they can go to look up for those dates?
Well, my website is down because I'm getting it fixed and because I'm trying to be a professional person. But if you go to, say, my Instagram or my Facebook or my TikTok, there's a link tree in my bio. You go to that. It can go to all my tour dates and all my other socials and everything like that. So there's ways to find me. Just look me up, Luke Severeid, LukeSevereid.
That's pretty awesome. All right. Thanks, Luke, for joining me on this podcast. And, let's have a good time tonight at Hook and Out Brewery.
Hell yeah. Bye. I did not look in the camera for shit.
That's right. Either did I.